All right, guys, welcome back to The Deep End. This is episode number 9. So stoked to be back with you guys for another week. And I've got to say, I feel like these last couple of weeks we've been a bit neglectful of doing Q&A at the end of these conversations. Last week, I know we missed it. I don't remember the week before, but I just kind of get this general sense that we've kind of let that slip a little bit. So first and foremost, apologies for that. It's always fun answering your guys' questions, and we get some good ones in the comments. But sometimes we get carried away with these conversations, and that is like the fun of the deep end, and that really is what it's all about. So anyway, with that, I thought we would kick it off with a good question that we got in the comments, if you're cool with it, Ari.
We're diving right in, I guess.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's do it.
And you kick off the answer. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but this question comes from 13baller14, who said, it's kind of a fun question. When you started investing, how much were you investing per month? And how long was it until you started seeing some sizable returns? So it's kind of a 2-for-1 in the questions, but I thought it was a good one, fun one.
Wow. I'm just going to come right out and share that no one should follow suit on what I did. Which was I had this lump sum of cash in my bank account, and I opened up my Vanguard, brokerage, put the money in there, threw it all into VTSAX, and then I just didn't add anything for like a long time, like a year plus, maybe 2, 3, whatever it was. I did add at some point Apple, like I built the foundation and then Apple. But I look back on that and I'm just like, wow, if only I really understood. That was in college. That was like before I actually got started with like investing. I was invested as in by the VTSAX and just that's it. Forget about it. But understanding the magic of the market and compounding, what a mistake. Like, it was only simple research to just dollar cost average in, because at no point in time, Ryne, was I not working. I was always working. I was always making money. And a matter of fact, just before this podcast, we were talking about, I took my dog for a walk and then I came back, jumped in the shower real quick. Now, the shower is where I get like most of my deep thoughts. If anybody else is like that, comments down below. But that's my zone. And I'm just like letting the water hit me. And this really heavy thought came to mind, which was like, if you really want it, this is like literally the thought. If you really want it, go more than all in. And it just kept like repeating itself in my mind. So I'm going to toss another $5,000 into the market after this call. But I'm sharing that to say, like, I always wanted financial freedom. I always wanted to invest in the market. I always was in love with like the game of money, if you will, to like gamify it all. Kind of like a Buffett take. It wasn't about it's not about materials for me. I just like watching the account, tick up. Anyways, so I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I just didn't add any. I just let a bunch of money accumulate in my bank account. And then all of a sudden, when the time came, the time was right, and it was Andre Jick, and I was watching YouTube and dividend investing, then I really started going to town on building out a real portfolio, like investment portfolio that I was going to manually take charge of and actively oversee. Now, today, I mean, you just heard me say it, like right after we get off this, that after I got out of the shower, I was like, I'm going to throw another $5,000 in the market. Because run all the numbers. Throw money into the S&P, right? And up 20% last year. I mean, you don't have to do anything. Just hit $1 million. Like whatever it takes to get there. I know everyone says 100,000, but like, let's focus on $1 million. Run those numbers on 20%. Anyways, and what was the second part of that question? It was when did I see the magic happening, if you will?
Yeah, when did you start seeing some sizable returns? But before we get to that, like when you made an important distinction between being invested and investing, right? And I went through something similar in my investing journey too. where I was invested but wasn't necessarily investing. And I've never thought about it that way before. That was really good. I'm gonna steal that.
Cop that one. Enjoy
Yeah,
it. I
definitely.
hope everybody enjoys that one.
No, that
That's
was a
on
good
the
one.
spot.
Um, so
um,
so when you did start investing, dollar cost averaging, putting money in regularly at the start, what did that look like for you? That's kind of I think what he's getting to with the first part of the question.
yeah, so it was college, this massive lump sum. I think it was like 15 or 20 grand, VTSAX, and then there was a gap.
Yeah.
And then it was 2019, then into 2020 when I really started building the portfolio, because how could you not? And it was very like I want to say within 6 months to a year that I started seeing like, wow, how powerful. But also, you got to understand this. Everybody's going to have such a different answer here, because if you invested in 2020, like when I really went in, everybody became like their own success story in 2020. Everybody was like, "Oh, I should go to Wall Street. Like, I'm
Yeah.
making it." And I think that's, it'd be wrong of me to be like, "Oh, in 6 months I saw the returns," right? Because the market drops in what was it, March, and then all of a sudden it takes off, and I threw a bunch of money in there. So it's hard for me to like really give an honest answer because of that whole
Mm.
COVID ordeal. But I can say now definitively, as I'm watching my account tick up, and this is where this thought just like came from. If you really want it, be more than all in. Like, take your paycheck, figure it out, be frugal, throw money in the market. And what do you really want? Because this is not an easy walk of life. Like this is it. Financial freedom is not easy. And I don't know, like there's so many YouTubers out there. I'm not going to name any names, but like I was watching some channels the other day. It was like, 7 side hustles that you could do to make $1,000 a day. I'm like, okay, you know, are you doing those side hustles? No, you're not. You're just making videos on them. But what you are doing is you're working really, really hard at your craft, even though you're kind of misleading people and like, oh, do this and you're doing this. I'm saying, I don't care what, if you're a mailman, amazing. I was a pizza delivery boy. I was racking in thousands as a high schooler. Naive not to invest it, but like do whatever you're doing and go all in, do the math, figure it out what you need, to cover your expenses. And if financial freedom is what you're after, or retiring early, or generating a ton of dividend income, go. Like invest everything you possibly can. When that mindset kicked in, that was the latter half of 2020, because I was still afraid, Ryne. I would call up a sibling of mine, and she actually works over at the Federal Reserve, and so she's super risk adverse. all the Fed employees are super risk adverse. But I was like, her name's Erica. I was like, I'm gonna I'm throwing this much in. I'm doing this much, and she was like, whoa, you might want to be careful. And then I was like, I might want to be careful. She's right, but wrong, because over time, based on what I'm investing in. And so that's all I'm getting at with that is like the more aggressive you are, the more your returns will kick in. If you want to throw $5 a day in, be my guest. You're probably not going to see the returns that you really are looking for. But also apply that, Ryne, to the gym, right? If you're not going to the gym every day, putting in the work, incrementally increasing, I don't know, your bench or squat, you will not see the results that you want. So the answer is going to vary for everybody. But I just say don't make my mistake. Ryne, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, real quick, I mean, in your experience, like has there been any point where you've looked at, like, for example, like the daily fluctuations in your portfolio value, or like a certain amount of dividend income coming in, and just noticed yourself thinking, geez, that's kind of a lot, whether the upside or the downside with the share price movement? Has there been any point like that where you've thought, man, this is actually like kind of starting to become something meaningful?
Now,
Because like when you first start out, especially if you are putting in like $5 a week or whatever it is, $25 a week, at first it's not, the differences are the dividends are going to be cents or low dollars. The the swings in market value are going to be the same. Not that that's bad. Like that's great. You got to get there before you get to the bigger numbers. But has there been any point where you've looked at those and thought, man, this is actually getting pretty juicy
Now,
now?
right now.
Mm.
Like, dude, we entered 2025 and I had the goal to get to 300 and I'm halfway there.
Wait, so
Like
where are you at right now?
I'm at 255K in there.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay.
Now I'm gonna throw 5K in after this, so it's gonna jump. But 255. I haven't touched it in about a week and something change.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. At 100, you're almost there. By the way, you're super close. I watched your last video, and I'm like, let's go. But the 100K club is real because you see, like you do see that compounding effect. But the 200K club is even more real, my friend.
I'm sure.
The thought that I had this morning when I was walking the pup, again, I don't know, it's coming out of, it's like really aggressive inside of me. It's get to 1 million. Get to 1 million. Because what amps me up, and I'm getting fired up right now, like just talking about it. I got to relax. But
It's probably those throat lozenges you've been swigging.
yeah, by the way, everybody, I'm a little bit sick, under the weather, but I got like cough drops in front of me, tea, coffee, water, the whole nine. But probably is these, man. There's like maybe sugar in here or something. I don't know. I had this thought this morning. Again, then like just get there. Get there. I don't care. Tunnel vision. Get there. And the shower thought that I just had was like, go all in. If you really are going to do this, you need to go more than all in. And I'm watching this account just rack up. And what's driving me more than anything in the morning when I was running the numbers, I'm like, okay, if I had just $200,000 invested in the S&P and 20%, if I had 300,000, invested in the S&P 20%, okay, and I'm just looking at the numbers, and just that in of itself is amping me up. And then I went conservative. I was like, let's just say $1 million. Let's just say I had it. And the market only returned, input whatever number you want, but very conservative on like, I don't know, a recessionary year. You will still probably earn more than, an average income in the United States. Like the numbers are mind blowing. So the game is how quickly can we get there? But it doesn't mean, I'm not talking about like go growth. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, oh, go all tech. I'm saying feed the beast. That's it. Just feed the beast. The beast is your portfolio, whatever that is. A dividend, like high dividend income portfolios, feed it. Just keep feeding it.
You're basically saying do the things that you can to control what you can on the path to getting there. There's a lot that you can't, but do the things that you can control and go more than all in on taking action in the way that you can. Yeah. Okay.
Because I was just on a a totally different podcast the other day, unrelated to finance, but I like this same mindset kicks in. It's just like most people say they want something and do not follow through on the necessary action steps to get there. Most people want to be a millionaire. Most people want to be the CEO. Guess what? Most people aren't willing to do the things a millionaire is willing to do. Most people are not willing to do the things that a CEO does. A CEO doesn't wake up at 10 o'clock and watch Netflix all day. That's just not what a CEO does. That's someone who's retired, right? But like someone who's in the gears of like, let's go, like that's not their day. And so operate like a freaking CEO, like be on it, feed the beast.
You know what's crazy? Part of that is I feel like when people think millionaire, becoming a millionaire, I mean, you're right. Everyone does want to be a millionaire. I think people think, and maybe this is why they go towards those like side hustle videos and junk like that. Excuse me, but I think they think you have to do something extraordinary to get there. Like it takes some sort of special talents or some lucky break to reach that millionaire status, and that status is reserved for the few and lucky. I think a lot of people have that belief about it or that interpretation about it. But man, I'm hearing you talk about this stuff and I'm thinking, getting $1 million is really not that hard. I'm so far from it. Don't get me wrong, I'm so far from it. And it's going to take some time to get there, a long time to get there for sure. But in theory, like the steps that it takes to get there are really not that hard to figure out. You don't have to be some genius. You don't have to have a super high IQ. You just have to be willing to start. I mean, everything that all of us are doing, everyone watching this, like if you stick with it, you'll be a millionaire. I think that I would imagine that pretty much everyone watching this has the intent to continue investing for the rest of their lives. I think everyone watching this, if you just stick with it, I think you'll be a millionaire someday. Just from doing these, remedial investing every single week for a long period of time. Like I said, it's not that it's easy, but it's not complicated, and I think that, like I said, people are looking for that lucky break or that thing that can get them there faster than what it actually realistically takes to get there, which is, and this is like going to be the most common means to become a millionaire, just investing and setting aside money for your future. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are not willing to do that. They're looking for the side hustle that's going to make them $1,000 a day or stuff like that to get there instead. But it's like, man, it really doesn't have to be that complicated.
There's no shortcuts in life. There's no shortcuts in life. I've been the king of trying to take the shortcuts. And the only thing, every shortcut in my life that I've ever taken, right down to learning how to play guitar. What did I do when I wanted to learn how to play guitar in 2020? Well, first of all, I got gifted a guitar from somebody. This is great. Frugal living, okay? And then I was like, I want to learn how to play this. So I YouTubed it, which is not bad. Not bad. But what did I YouTube? The easy chords, playing it by like listening to the song. What happened? After like 1 year, I'm like, oh, I can kind of jam, right? I can play. Throw notes in front of me, can't play anything. Look like a fool. People ask me to play a song, but I don't know. I haven't heard it. Like I need to. I don't know. I need to like. So you look like a fool at the end of the day. It's like everybody. This kind of culture. Dude, I'm really on one today. I think there's something in these, but I'm looking around, like, even, if you go to like Instagram handles and stuff, like everybody's something these days. The CEO. So are you really the CEO? Like, what'd you build? Like, how much revenue is actually kicking in? You're like the CEO of like a bracelet company and you sell like 3 bracelets a month. Not putting it, I am kind of putting it down, but like I think the more intentional we are with our words and where we are in life, it will just help us. So when you say, I want to be a millionaire, well, what does a millionaire do? Like, are you talking to millionaires? Are you networking with the right people to learn how they operate? Because you're probably going to need to operate like that. You can't hang out with the schlups, right, of like the gym and expect to go beast mode when you go to the gym if the guys you're hanging out with can't even walk a mile.
I mean, you can, but you also can't act the same way that they do. Like here's another example. If
I'm not saying don't be humble, by the way. That's not. I want to make that clear. Like it's intense. I'm just getting like, be intense.
Yeah.
Be intense about it.
Like a different example is like here in Vegas. I mean, this applies to any city you live in, I think, but like here in Vegas, it's especially worse. I know so many people who just go out multiple times per week, and there's always something to do. There's always some place to go. There's always comps for the girls, and there's just always some way that you can spend money and have fun doing that.
Can't
stuff.
wait, man. I'm coming to Vegas.
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I see that stuff all the time, and it's like some of these people I'm friends with, they're fine people, but I also don't. I just don't care to spend my money that way. Like that's going to hold me back from, you know, doing what it takes for me to reach that millionaire status or to progress myself forward financially. And that's not to say they're bad people and I would ever cut them out just because they're not as frugal as I am. But, you know, you also have to be aware of that. And I have friends, like I've got plenty of friends, like none of my best friends, pretty much all of my really, really, really close friends I've had for my entire life since like kindergarten, that long, over 20 years. None of them are really even into investing. But like they're good people and they're good friends of mine, and I'm never going to cut them out just because they don't like investing like I do or because they're not setting aside money for their future like they should. But at the same time, like I do want to be aware of that and know, okay, I probably should do things a bit differently than they're doing them if I want to reach goal X, Y, or Z. So I think you have to balance those couple of things, you know?
That's the humility card. Like what you just said, really, you didn't cut them out, but it was like a soft distancing a little bit to say like, if I'm gonna operate, like I gotta be really focused on this thing, you know, like I can't go out every day with you, you know. I also don't agree with cutting anybody out of your life. Life is way too short to have like tarnished relationships like that. But I certainly believe like, you know, it's okay to to walk on a certain path with certain people and always have your door open, if that makes sense. Like I've never shut anybody out of my life these days, right? I had to make a, you know, last 7 years crazy journey, but and that was all me, but cleaning all of that up, right? Like it's never cutting anybody out of your life. That's unhealthy. And if anybody is cut out of your life, check yourself, because that's not a way to walk. But be careful who you're walking with every day, because those words, like again, the people, going back to that gym analogy, right? Like if you're going to hang with the cats that are walking, you know, a mile a day and complaining the whole time and like really just not improving themselves, yes, you could hit certain goals and milestones. Eventually you'll get there, but you'll 10x or 50x or 100x just walking with the right people and not even having to put the energy towards like blockades, you know?
Here's the perfect gym analogy to describe this. So there's people.
Here we go.
There's people who go into the gym and they'll go as a group or they'll meet, you know, friends there or whatever, and they've got their cliques. And, you know, there's people, and this happens at every gym, there's people who kind of just stand around talking. Like maybe you've got 3 or 4 people using the same piece of equipment. They're all working out together. That's cool. That's cool. They're working out as a group, and that's certainly a positive thing for them to do. But there's other people that, you know, you see every day when you go to the gym at the same time. And as these other people, you start talking, and there's some people who will naturally do more talking than they'll do actually working out. And that's cool that they found like their hangout spot and whatnot, and you know, whatever. But I've over the years I've become very careful about like letting myself get wrapped up in in-depth conversations at the gym, because once you have one, then pretty much every conversation with that person after that can turn into like a 20-minute ordeal, which is, you know, they're great people, and maybe we should go grab a beer sometime or something and hash things out and have these conversations. But speaking personally, when I'm in the gym, I'm really trying not to talk, because I'm there to do something. I want to get in and out in 45 minutes or an hour or so and get on with my day. And, you know, if you get caught talking, and then you can easily spend like 2 or 3 hours in the gym. And back in the day, like when I was a lot deeper into this stuff than I am now, I used to do that. I used to hang out at the front desk at the gym that I worked and just talk to my coworkers and hang out. And but now it's these days it's like, man, you go in there with a mission and a plan, and you've got to stay focused, or else you will be detracted from achieving your goal for that day. And you can apply that to a longer period of time. But I think that's a good way to describe kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. That's literally that's what I was trying to say with like it's a soft distancing.
Yeah.
It's wrong to block people out of your life, but keep doors open, and you never know where opportunities and ideas and things. But like, focus. You are on a mission. You're on the mission of your own life. Don't get distracted by these silly things, right? I had someone the other day, I ran into him. I haven't seen him in like a decade, and I ran into him out in the street, and some small talk, and then he had to go. I had to go, and then I got a message from him, and he was like, "Man, we should grab tacos, on like Sunday night, or and I'm like, yeah, I can't. I'm doing a lot, right? And this guy was like, "Oh, you're one of those. You have to schedule it out."
He said that?
Yeah, he was like, "You're one of those people," and I'm like,
Oh my
"Yeah,"
gosh.
because he was like joking or like kind of that sarcastic, like, "Oh, one of those, like schedule it out," and I'm like, man, of course I am. Like I'm doing multiple things, and I love everything that I'm doing. But if you want to get anywhere in life, it's what you just said. You used to go hang out at the front desk. Why are you at the gym? It's like you're not there. Well, maybe you are. Maybe you are at the gym to socialize. That's fine. If that's your mission at the gym, cool. But some people say my mission at the gym is to go, I don't know, get swole, right? Whatever. Pick things up, put them down, Go do that. Pick them up, put them down. That's why you're there. For me, when I think about investing, again, I want to be rich. I love that comment. What does that mean? Like, define rich. And then not only that, but like, what are you actually doing to get there?
Yeah, and are you willing to do the things that will get you there the right way? Because there's a right way to do it. There's a fast way to do it. Typically, they're not. Typically, they're at odds with each other, and more often than not, people don't want to do it the right way. They'd rather have it be the quick way. But like you said earlier, there's no shortcuts, which is the long way. There's no shortcuts, like you said. Yeah, and but then it goes back to like it's not complicated. It's really not. It's going to take a long time, and you just have to be you have to be consistent. You just have to dollar cost average every single week into like VOO or some. You can make it super simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it's not easy. And so getting into this, you need to have that firmly in your mind and understand that before even embarking on this journey, because really any goal you want to achieve too, or else you're going to do things that seem like a shortcut in the short term, but oftentimes what ends up happening is you take the shortcut and it sets you even farther back than if you were to just stick to the right path and do it the right way, which is the long way from the beginning, and don't veer from that.
The thing is, the right way is so boring. It's like exhaustingly boring. You just said it yourself. You're like dollar cost average, and eventually you're going to be there. There's so boring.
There's so many reasons not to do things that way. There's so many reasons why people don't want to take the long way. And I do totally understand it. Like, there's not a day that goes by where I don't think about living off my dividend income. There's not a day that goes by where I don't dream about that. And I wish so badly that it would take faster than it's going to, but that's just not how it works. And I can't do anything about that. I can't, like, there's no magic pill to fix that. I can't buy TSLY and retire off of dividend income forever. It's just not going to work out the way that I would want it to. It just,
there's no other way but the way.
It's no other way but the way. And the right way it's never the way that you actually want to go, but it is the only way, and you will always be better off for it. Not just in investing, but like in life too. Like, the right thing is always the right thing.
And you'll have no regrets that way. Everybody,
yes.
Some of the lessons I've learned from masters of the market that I've taken from other individuals, other investors, is that anytime someone has tried to cheat the system, right, the cheat code, you end up with a degree from the University of Hard Knocks as a graduate, top of your class, and then you come on and you're like, I've made all the mistakes an investor can make. What were they? They always come down to the same thing. I put my money in penny stocks. I went into these high-yielding dividend, lost everything. YOLO'd my money into Bitcoin. Like, it all boils down to, how did you lose it? You gambled it. You didn't invest it. You gambled it, because if you get, again, be intentional with your words. What you say matters. It's okay to invest in penny stocks. Just know you're gambling. Like, it's okay to be a day trader, but just know you're day trading. You're not investing. And I think that people have to be clear with what they're doing. Because that's another thing. Once you have your definitions down, I want to be, everybody looks at Buffett all the time. Oh, I want to speak to Buffett. I want to meet Buffett, even the masters of the market. One of the last questions, right? Like, who would you want to meet? I would sit down with Buffett. Okay. The one thing Buffett does so well is nothing. He buys a stock and doesn't do anything. It's so boring. It's so boring. So boring, it flies right over everybody's head. And then everybody's like kvetching about how they can't get to that status, but they were unwilling to do nothing. They had to be antsy and click buy and sell and try to outsmart the game.
Yeah, there's some quote, I don't remember who said it, but the quote goes something like, man's biggest problems have always stemmed from not being able to sit in a room quietly by yourself.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I always say, when I'm working with people, I say the hardest thing any man has to go through, or will have to go through, is nothing. And then I always get this blank look, and they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, the hardest thing you will ever have to do, if you're going through a breakup, do nothing. Don't need to send her that crazy message,
Yeah.
If you're losing your job, do nothing. Just let it happen. All of it. And when you do nothing in the stock market, you just invest money and do nothing. Don't touch it. Don't trade it. Just let it be. And it will grow. It's like, I just thought about this now. It's like planting an oak tree outside, and then like after 6 months to a year, it's like not the results that you want. So you dig it up, you dig the root up, and you try to move it somewhere else. Better sunlight. It's like it was just growing there. It just didn't grow in the time that you wanted it to grow.
Yeah. Wow, man, that's a great analogy right there.
Dude, I love these chats. It's
Yeah,
like
the
thinking
fun
out
of it
loud.
is,
That's really what it
yeah,
is.
you never know what's going to come out of these. Okay, so can we talk about
Back to
Vegas?
you. Back to you. You never.
Oh, yeah. I never answered the
You
question.
just flew
Okay.
right over that one.
So the question, let's see. So it's how much was I investing per month when I started, and how long until I started seeing sizable returns? So yeah, kind of like you, Ari, like there was a period where I was invested, but I wasn't investing, because when I was, and I've told this story before, when I was 11 or 12 or 13, I had a custodian account made for me. And then, from that point on, every Christmas, every birthday, I would get money from our Charles Schwab account. So,
It was
I was
$100.
yeah, it was something like that,
Yeah. For the Schwab account. I remember this.
Yeah. And so I was invested, and I was probably about 25, 26 when, kind of like you, I had the epiphany. It's like, wow, if I start now, this is what it could be in 20 years. Holy cow. And at that point on, once I started investing, which means putting money in every single week, or investing regularly, at a regular frequency, I probably had started with about $25 per week. And I started pretty small. And in hindsight, excuse me, well, before I even say that, I think that was a good amount for me at the time. And thinking back on it, I probably could have I could have afforded to invest a little bit more than that, but I'm also very glad that I started with that small amount as a brand new investor just getting into it. I think it made sense to start with this small manageable amount that didn't seem like a whole lot to lose if I did for some reason lose it. It was good for me starting out to find my groove and establish confidence with what I was doing. And then, obviously have built it up from there. And I think that every investor should do that. I think if you're just getting into it, it makes sense to just smart, especially because this can be so intimidating when you first get into it. And a lot of people are intimidated and aren't quite yet acclimated to the daily movements of the market. I think it can freak some people out. So with that, start small, like whatever seems like a comfortable, manageable amount to you, whether it's $5 a week, $10, $25, whatever that number looks like to you, start there. Just find your groove with what you're doing, get settled and get your bearings. And you can always increase it from there. And I think that you should have the goal to increase your contributions over time. But yeah, definitely start small is, I think, a good way to go. So that's the first part of the question for me. Now, as far as how long it took until I started seeing some sizable returns and feeling like, man, this is kind of becoming something. This is actually kind of becoming something. There's two different periods that stick out to me. The first of which is about when I was, when I started bringing in about $100 per month in dividends. I think once I hit that point, which would have been like a couple years into this whole investing thing, I don't know, something about bringing in three figures consistently made me feel like, man, this is actually something. Like, obviously, you're not going to retire off $100 a month, but like you can do a lot with $100. Like, that's some bills. Like for me, that at the time, that's a couple weeks of groceries. That's, you could do a lot with that $100, or I could. And so I felt like that was a substantial amount of money coming in. And I also noticed that when I reinvested, I was able to start like buying whole shares of stocks with that. And so that started to feel pretty meaningful for me, when I was bringing in that much in income. And obviously it's scaled since then. I've even noticed it to a greater degree now. I think I'm bringing in on average like 260 per month. And it's like, yeah, I'm really noticing it a lot more now. And that kind of brings me to the second time where I feel like I've started to feel this a bit, that things are a bit more meaningful. It's really happened. I've really felt it since my portfolio hit about $80,000, really. Like, I'm at a point now where pretty much at minimum, I'm either going up or down $100 a day, which, like I said, $100 to me is still like, that's still something. And so on a bad day, it's like I could make $100 without having to lift a finger just from share prices going up. On a really, really, really good day, it's like it could be over 1,000. And so I don't know. I feel like it's getting to the point where the returns are starting to become sizable on a daily basis. And I know that will continue to grow over time. And that's another important thing about like doing this step by step and gradually over a period of time, is you have to let yourself acclimate to those and adjust to those differences, the amounts of income, the daily fluctuations in share price. Like if you just lumped sum $1 million going from 0 to 1 million, you'd probably freak out when you see, like if you saw like a red day or something, you'd probably freak out with the amount that it could go down in a day. Like 1% of $1 million is $10,000. If you started investing, lump sum $1 million, even 500,000 or some other large amount, and your first day on the market's down 1%, you probably will not be feeling too good. So it's also important to build things up gradually to a degree, to let yourself acclimate to those swings, because then they don't seem as scary or even as exciting. You have to stay level-headed about it either way. But anyway, I think that's kind of that kind of closes the book on my response. And as you were talking, man, I was thinking, geez, I'm over here thinking like, as you were sharing your response to like the sizable returns, I was over here thinking, geez, I'm over here getting excited about $100. But it's like Ari's bad day. If Ari goes, goes up 1%, it's like $2,000 or $2,500 in a day. And it's like a bad day for you. Like 0.1% is, which is like happens pretty much every single day at least. Dude, you're up or down probably $250 to $750 any given day. It's like that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you wanted to get some cough drops that I have because they're just giving me energy. But no, man. No, what I was thinking about as you were speaking, actually, before I get there, I didn't properly answer the question. I invested like a dollar cost average by month. So you did it by week. I would
Hmm.
actually take like about 2 grand every month, and toss that into the market come the end
Oh
of a
wow.
month or beginning of a month. So that it was always like roughly 2 grand that I was throwing in, give or take. But as you were speaking, what came to mind for me, because you can't, and I also want to preface by saying this. I had a business with Brian from Business with Brian on Masters of the Market, and we got to talking. I think I shared this with you before. We got to talking about celebrating your wins and how important that is, and that's still something like when you ask me this question, I track my dividend income, but I don't ever look at it like, oh yeah, now I got $100 a month. And I should, because I know, there's one time I was walking in Manhattan. It was late at night, and I looked down, there's $100 bill, a hundo. And I picked it
And
up. I was like,
you
let's.
spit on it.
Yeah, I just kicked it away. I said, oh, this poor man's chunk change, No, I picked it up. I was like, let's go, right? Like, I was so
Yeah.
excited. What did I do with that? I didn't buy anything with that. I just went to the bank. I immediately put it into my Chase bank account, and I invested it. That's dividend income every month for you. That's what that is. It's you are literally stumbling upon $100 randomly. Not so randomly, because obviously you invested in the stocks and they paid you the dividends, but like just thinking about it, that should be your excitement level every time. Wow, another, like, I remember when I was at earlier stages of dividend investing, and it was like, five, 25 cents. I was like, nice, like these small wins. And you
Yeah.
have to do that. You should be doing that because you are making money. Appreciate the small wins. I think for me, just like as I've over the years evolved as an investor, those are really small wins for me now. Because like you said, on any given day, if I'm up 2 grand, I'm like, let's go. But you know what? I'm not even looking at it, man. Because it goes back to something I said last week. I'm not thinking in days. I'm not thinking in weeks. I'm not thinking in months. I'm thinking in decades. I don't care what's in the account right now. Yeah, I'm tracking it. Like, it's exciting to watch it, but I'm not
Yeah.
like every day like, oh, 2000, oh, 700. Oh, it's like that drive me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm just here saying, all right, all in, baby. See you in 10 years, like, and I'm not investing. That's the other thing. Like, when you're invested in companies, high quality companies, and the companies to the best that you can, and you're not investing in like, again, the TSLYs or like anything crazy, penny stocks or meme type of investments, you don't have to look. Just think in decades. And that very notion, like you could track your income every time you get a dividend. It's like, nice, $100. Where's it going? Reinvested. Nice. That's another win because the next dividend is going to be big. Like you have to train your mind to think about this as like just free money. You're given money. Because really, if you think about it, a dividend income stock, the company could go under. Like anything can happen, but you got paid a dividend. Like the company's doing well. Hopefully, it pays you a dividend. You're getting money for the investment. Celebrate.
Yeah. I think we I get this question a lot. I'm sure you do as well. I think we've actually talked about it before in one of these earlier conversations, but I'll get questions over all the time from people who are like, how do you stay excited about this? How do you stay motivated to just keep going? Because it's like it's going to take so long. Yeah, there you go. You just
Yeah, man.
pop some Ricolas or something. Um, no, but I get this question all the time, and it's exactly what you said. You have to celebrate those small victories, um, because those are a testament to the progress that you're making. And the cool thing about doing this is that the longer you do it, the better it gets, and you're always met with something to be excited about. Like every quarter, usually you're having a record month of dividend income, and it's you've got to celebrate those even if it's just for a second, just as a reminder, if especially if you're feeling discouraged or if you feel like progress isn't being made, you especially have to pay attention to those things because those things are evidence that what you're doing is working and you're headed in the right direction. And that oak tree, albeit slowly but surely, is continuing to grow. And don't uproot it. Just keep letting it do its thing and know that it's happening. It's going slowly, but it should. Okay, it's not like you're not like injecting testosterone into this oak tree. It's not going to shoot up overnight or anything like that. It's supposed to go slow. It's doing it in its own time. And that's the only way that it can go, really. But you have to celebrate those small victories for sure.
Here's something that just came to mind, which is the fact that if you're having problems staying motivated in the market, you might want to check other areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get real. Like, I'm not just this excited about the stock market. Ryne, you could probably attest there's other areas in your life that you're really excited about. And I see that. I see when you post, your runs, that gets you going. And so if you are myopically focused on the stock market and you just can't get that motivation, I would say check your life. Like, check your entire lifestyle. Because my entire life and how I live, I'm moving the needle on everything. It's like, wake up, my wake up time is 5:15, 5:30. Wake up, walk dog, read in the morning, study, like just boom. But like, I'm knocking things out. And I don't know if I expressed this last week to you. I was having a conversation with someone earlier this week, and I said everybody's trying to quote unquote live life to the fullest. But how many days in the last month have you caught the sunrise? If you're sleeping in until 9:30, that's your living life to the fullest, like, you might want to check yourself before you make that statement, right? Like, and then, the girl was like, well, someone's, you could want to maybe binge watch Netflix. It's like, sure, but that's what your fullest is? I don't think so. I don't think your fullest potential is making popcorn and sitting on the couch to watch Netflix, or like whatever. So just check yourself, because if that's your fullest, yeah, of course you're not going to be motivated in the stock market when you get 25 cents worth of a dividend. You need to understand in all areas of your life. The gym was always a great one, man. When I was in the gym, I think we spoke about this last week, the 2.5 pounder. I mean, what a ridiculous plate. Who even made that plate up in the gym? The wisest guy in the gym made that plate up. The wisest guy who understands the human body made a 2.5 pound plate. And understanding that it's the incremental increases over time, that's how you get results.
It's so funny,
jack
dude.
of all trades that are like, let me rack up 3 plates of 45s. Let's go. It's like they barely do the squat.
My gym doesn't have 2.5 plates, and I'm really bummed out about it. The smallest plate they have is fives. And for most lifts, it's okay. Like, if you're doing like a hack squat or leg press, it's like you don't need a 2.5, because even 5 pounds added, you're not going to really notice a difference. But when it comes to things like if you're doing a military press or if you're doing a bench press, I personally notice the difference between an extra 5 pounds on each side or 2.5 pounds on each side. And
it makes a difference.
It does make a difference. It really does.
Like,
Yeah.
People don't think they're embarrassed. And I used to train people. They were. I'm like, all right, you're ready to move up today, and they're like, yeah, let's go, right? And I'm like, all right, 2.5, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, you have to do, if you're gonna squat. If you're gonna bench. Like, if you want to add a 25-pound plate on both sides and do half the work, go halfway down. That's not the deal. So we might as well add the 2.5s, get you 5 pounds. You'll feel a little bit better about yourself, and we'll keep adding thereafter. Same thing with investing. It's the classic, I don't have $5,000, so I can't even start investing. It's like, no, but you have $5, so you can.
Yeah. You know what? You're getting to something really important. I don't know if we've really ever, we've probably danced around it. I don't know if we've ever talked directly about it, but in these conversations, but investing is what they call an infinite game. And I know you're familiar with the concept. For those of you who are not, infinite games are exactly what they sound like. They're things that you can do where there's no finish line. Like with investing, there is no finish line. Like, yeah, okay, maybe a finish line potentially could be like retirement, when a point where you can live off your investments. Okay. But even beyond that, your portfolio will continue to grow and progress can continue to be made in your portfolio. So therefore, by definition, and because it is something that you can do and progress at for the rest of your life, investing is an infinite game. And I think you're right, Ari. Like, if this is the only infinite game that you're playing in your life, it's going to, and if you're so fixated on this, it's going to make the journey a lot more difficult. So you need to find other infinite games that you can play in your life that are maybe adjacent to this. And if you think about living a holistically good life, it's not just one area. It's financially, it's there's like 5 different categories people say, right? It's like financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is. But within all these different realms, there are various infinite games that you can play. Another obvious one is what Ari was just talking about, working out. Lifting weights is another infinite game. You can, over time, you can always slowly, incrementally add more weight, or progress in some way, shape, or form. Same is true with running. You can work on becoming a better husband or friend. There's progress that you can make in those areas as well. But you should find other infinite games and other things that you can progress outside of your portfolio, especially when it comes to like dollar cost averaging. And if it is kind of a set it and forget it approach, you don't really need to give too much more attention to this because it's already dialed in. So, to help improve your life in another way, maybe find some other infinite game you can play. And there's so many, I mean, even guitar, like you were talking about earlier, that's another great one. That's another infinite
Think
game.
about,
Pick up
I don't know if
tennis
you
or
know
something
a lot
too.
about like John
Pottery.
Mayer. This guy, John Mayer, used to lock himself in his bedroom as a kid to just jam out, like by himself for hours. Dinner was served at the door, right? Like it was like he's a kid. Like that's it. What you see on stage is not like John Mayer picked up a guitar in 2020 because it was COVID and he was like, da-da-da-da, like boom, like he's John Mayer. That's decades and decades worth of John Mayer being John Mayer.
Yeah.
This is like that's why I said like I'm just gonna take it deeper here in the deep end. Like check your lifestyle. Check all areas of your life. If you're feeling unmotivated because you can't celebrate the small wins of the 25-cent dividend or hitting $10,000 milestone because Joe Schmo's got $100,000 or whatever Schmo has, $1 million. There's something wrong with you, with your lifestyle, how your outlook is. I even applied this, like this is how like honed in on this concept, going through AA 7 years ago. It's the 12-step program, right? Okay, what's after the 12th step? There's got to be more to it. You can't just keep going around and around. So what did I notice in AA, which is why I do what I do now, help like speaking and all this stuff. There's a step 155. There's a step 1,250. It's like be constantly improving your life. Most people in AA don't actually get sober because they keep going in this loop of inventory, like doing all this stuff. It's like, if you're the same person you were 12 years ago, what are you doing? If you're investing the same way you're investing 12 years ago, like, what are you doing? Like you should be changing and evolving and progressing. And with progress, you then have the ability, if you're smart, to track it all. And then looking at your progress, that's where the motivation comes from. Like, all areas of my life are exactly like this. I'm like, people ask me all the time, like, how do you manage to do all the things that you're doing? And I'm like, I honestly don't know. I'm just having a lot of fun doing it. Like, I'm wiped by 11:30, 12 a.m., midnight, and then wake up at 5 a.m. But I love it, like, and the whole challenge for me is like, how can I reschedule and like add more to the plate? That's living life to the fullest to me. I don't have time for tacos on Sunday night. Like, I got a podcast to do with you. I got the other podcast going. I want to, get on my reading. I want, like, improving. It's not to say don't make time for people, but like, you like understand like what's really going on in life. The reason why I'm gung ho even about the million, run the numbers. You get to $1 million and you start making some of the salaries, average salaries of Americans, like, whoa, right? Like, that's pretty nuts. Like it's fueling me. And then I'm looking at my account, I'm like, oh, it's like $250,000. Dude, I'm no longer saying 100,000. I'm like, when I say what's in my account, I'm like, I got $250,000, like that makes you sound even closer.
Yeah.
And just how many, I don't know, cough drops am I going to be taking at $500,000, right? Like,
well, dude, what's crazy is that, like, if let's say, I'm just going to use a simple number. If you're at 250,000 right now ish, and let's say that your portfolio can see a 10% return, moving forward for the next handful of years, dude, by the time you're 30, not even 40 years old, not even 38 years old, you're going to have $500,000 invested. It's crazy. And you don't have to,
I'm just here to say, like, I sat at the dog park this morning. Luckily no one's with me when I'm out there at like 5:30 because this is when I'm like most
you're
like,
you're yodeling.
Yeah, I'm like I'm just elevated. I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm sending people messages in the morning, I'm like, but they're probably waking up like, this guy is like on one, but that's the thing. I'm always, what you see is what you get right now. I love my life, man. I love my life. I love everything that I'm doing. I love not going to the clubs, every night because there's nothing there. I know what I'm gunning for. And that to me is like the most beautiful thing ever. And not only that, but I can't wait to get to the $1 million mark. Not because I know that's going to bring me happiness. That's not going to bring anything other than the $1 million, which will then help feed into the beast that will allow me to do other things that I want to do. More time in guitar. That's not necessarily my priority these days, but eventually I'll come back to it. More time for travel. More, so I'm looking at these things. I'm like, that's the goal. Not because the money is going to bring, I don't care what's in the account. It's what I can do with what's in the account. And that's super fun. That's like, that's a driver and a half.
Well, man, that makes me really happy to hear that you are happy with life and everything that you're doing. It sounds like you just have a really deep sense of fulfillment, and I just don't know what more you could ask for in this life, so I'm happy for you.
We've spoken about this too before, like you've experienced the same like highs of life. Cause it's like, dude, you don't wake up in the morning. Every time I either see your Instagram or we exchange messages or we're here on the deep end, I'm like, this guy's cracking away at building up his life. He reports to no one, like that is the most freeing thing in the world. But also take note, that's the most important thing, your consistency is like every day. I know that when I click on I don't know what they're called, like the story things on Instagram, I know I'm going to see that Ryne Williams just ran X mileage. Like, I know I'm going to see something. I know I'm going to see books. I know it's like, but you're living your life and doing the things you want to do. It's that elevation. It just gets you to a point of like,
yeah, I just like these infinite games, man. I first learned just this idea of, the Japanese call it kaizen, which is continuous improvement. And I think that really sunk in for me when I started lifting weights. I think that was my first really experience learning it. I think investing taught it to me all over again. And just being able to connect the dots between the two and having that solidified even more has inspired me to look for these other infinite games, these other things that I can suck at first but make progress at, which feels good. Like that's where my sense of fulfillment comes from. And YouTube's another infinite game. There's not like a maximum number of subscribers you can have or a maximum number of videos you can put out. And so I'm trying to, get better at this as well, running, reading and learning, just becoming hopefully wiser over time. I feel good seeking out these different things. I don't want to put too many different things on my plate because, I'm only human, and having all these different things can, maybe it's not all physically tiring, but a lot of it can be mentally tiring if you're always on. So I need to be careful about what I pursue. And
Also,
go.
if
Last
you're
week I was
doing,
talking about poker last week, and I'm already like, yeah, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it, but I don't know if it's something that I will do to the extent that I do investing or running or lifting or something like that.
if you're doing too much, it distracts you from the main priorities or priority.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
But
that's
I think
also
that
important. Like that's the most important thing I think, because like I said, I priority is not guitar right now, but in the future, I see it racking its way back to the top, just not now. And so
yeah.
I'm not going to try to like attempt to like play 2 minutes of guitar every day right now because it's going to distract me from the things that I really want to do.
Yeah, and if you want to get better at it, you have to develop like a process for doing that. It's no different than training. Or even investing. You have to develop like a clear path to get better at it and improve. And yeah, maybe you'll cross the guitar bridge when you get there. I'm the same way, by the way. I'll go through phases where like I'll play guitar religiously every day for like 30 minutes, an hour a day, and then I won't touch it for 4 years, something
Yeah.
like that. And I'm in a cold period with it right now, but I've always loved it ever since I was young. I've played like that.
Yeah, that happens, but it just goes to show it's not really the true like heart priority. You could
Yeah,
do it; it's fun, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's really not at the core of your priorities right now, which is
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so yeah, that was good. That was a good little jam we got
We
in
just
there.
took one question and went like I don't know how long that was like 45 minutes.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much the whole episode, right?
One question. That's the deep
Um,
end, folks.
yeah. So before we close it out, let's talk Vegas. Do you have like well, just, I'm going to kick it back to you. Let's talk Vegas. What do you got?
Let's just talk Vegas. I am coming to Vegas. That's going down at the end of March. I'm coming to Vegas. There's an ETF conference, and I will be there. The conference in and of itself is not for retail investors, but it is for those within the field. So I will be at this conference. And
Oh, it's at the Virgin.
aside from that, yeah, the Virgin Hotel. I don't. Is that a good hotel?
Great hotel. When I got one of my favorite hotels. It's right off the strip. When my wife and I got married, everyone stayed at the Virgin. Love the Virgin. So good.
Amazing. So that's where it is. It's the Virgin Hotel, March 23rd to the 26th. I'll be there schmoozing away with some industry folks. But then I'll also be in Vegas meeting for the first time in the flesh you.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the only thing I want to open up to literally everybody is if you are going to be in Vegas at the end of March, let Ryne or I know, and we want you to come out with us. We're not going clubbing or anything like that. So just like come meet us, talk with us, sit with us. Whether it's the bar, I don't know what's going on in Vegas. That's Ryan's deal, but we want to meet you, and that's what I want to say. Is like this is I think a beautiful opportunity. Hopefully, we can even do a live podcast, man.
Yeah, I think we should try and figure that out. Yeah, we'll figure that out. I might need to get another mic or something for that.
You can always bring
Um,
this one.
okay. Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you would be interested in something like that. If you're in Vegas already, if you would attend that. If you're out of town and
If you're
would be
not in
interested in,
Vegas and you would
yeah,
fly in,
yes. Just drop a comment below and let us know if you're interested. Just so you know, it looks like the conference is the 23rd to the 26th. Maybe you already said that, Ari. I apologize if you did. And if there is some interest, we will plan some sort of sanctioned event where we can do like a big in-person meetup. And I actually have the perfect place to do it. There's a great restaurant at the Virgin Hotel, actually. It's where we had our wedding reception dinner. Couldn't have been a better experience. So if there's enough interest, we can we can plan something. I mean, that would be even if there's
In
a
which
small group.
case, I'm gonna. This is, I'm gonna make a promise, which I keep my word. So if we make this happen, it becomes a little event. I will poll, if it's wanted, some of the big wigs that will be at this conference in a room with us as well, and we could just like the whole deal of meeting with Ryne and I or anybody is like to better yourself as an investor, as a human, as just like to progress. And so if that's something that's even wanted, I will make that happen. Give you my word. Because I think it's important that people meet these professionals and see that they're just like us and can't predict the stock market. I think it's important to ask them hard questions. I think it's important to go deep with them, because the more I did that with them, the more I humanize them, the more I go, oh wow, they're literally just like me. Like they're just, oh, the S&P 500 is what they're investing into, right? Like you start to piece these pictures together. So I think it's fascinating. But that aside, even just meeting with Ryne and I, like we want to meet you.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun. If nothing else, we could do like a little in person, dividend happy hour type thing. And be really cool. But I think it's one of those things where the events would be dependent on how many people would actually come. That would determine kind of how we plan it. But if you guys are interested, long story short, let us know in the comments below. It would be sometime the 23rd to the 26th of March of this year. So basically like 5-6 weeks from now, which is pretty quick. But let us know in the comments.
Drop a comment down there. Let us know. Investors, thank you again for tuning in to the deep end. We only got to one question, but that just goes to show how deep we can get with just one question. I think that's epic. And until next time, we will catch you all in the next one.